Jacob in Wisconsin, here to talk some Green Bay Packers on this glorious Saturday, April the 12th, as we've got a Notre Dame spring game at about 2 p.m. Eastern. Excited about that. And plenty of Packers talk here this morning. Jacob, how you doing, big dog?
I am doing pretty good, man. Woke up real early and decided I wanted to watch a bunch of film on wide receivers, and I got some favorites for sure. Found a couple guys that I wasn't too sure about, and now I really like them. And so, yeah, maybe we can get into that. How are
Nice.
you today, Clayton?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. We got a lot of defensive talk lined up, edge defenders, defensive tackles, stuff like that. So before we get into all that, why don't we just talk a little wide receiver, man? I know we hit on it the last couple of days. I think that'd be fun to kind of hear your take on your favorite guys, and we'll pull up the board and see where we got them on our board and compare and contrast here, man.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of started with some of our guys that we've talked about and just kind of went right on down the line. I only watched maybe like 3, 4, 5 minutes each, but there was just maybe three or four people that stood out. One of them's not going to be surprising. It was Jaden Higgins. Just watching how effortlessly he seemed. I just put some notes on what strong, fluid, good release, decent yak, but it just seems so like I hate saying effortless because then it seems like he's being lazy, but it's just he seems to hit full stride fairly quickly, easily. I was surprised at the route tree. He seemed like he was very well rounded. And that's not just to fluff up Tim. He really does intrigue me as an
No.
offensive prospect. It just he does seem like a difference maker. Another one that I really liked a lot, and
Let's
this
hit Jaden Higgins for a second since you hit on him. Let's just kind of tell everybody where he's at on the board. He does obviously meet the athletic threshold. He crushes it. He's in the 48 spot on our board. In 2022 is the 86th highest graded receiver at his position, right? 23 jumps all the way to 28th, and then in 24 he jumps all the way to 4th. PFF Big Board had him at 54 at the end of the season. Consensus Big Board had him at 81. I think both of those numbers are low, obviously. The 33rd team, Kyle Krabs, had him in the 79 spot on his initial board. I think he's since risen, but we're leaving it there. You guys know how we do that. Dane Brugler had him in the 48 spot on his original list unveiling. RAS was a 9 plus, and Greg Cosell gave him the 5 point bonus. So he checks. I'm talking about most of the boxes here, man. And what's crazy is I didn't give him a Senior Bowl bonus. We probably should. I need to revisit that because I remember, didn't he catch? No, it was Jack Besh. I've got them mixed up. He caught a touchdown pass in the Senior Bowl. Jaden Higgins did, but it was Jack Besh that went off, right? So, yeah, Jaden Higgins, man, intriguing. Let me ask you this before we move on to the next guy. Do you see a scenario? And there's no wrong answer. I'm genuinely asking. Do you see a scenario where you could think Jaden Higgins is worthy of the 23rd pick, or would it have to be something to trade back a little bit or take him at 54? What do you think there?
man, it's funny you actually just asked that because that was about to be my question for you. Was that do you see him? And it wasn't necessarily 23. It's do you see him as a first round prospect anywhere?
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly do. I really do because I think it's team specific. But when you compare him to what are we talking now? We're talking Tet, Luther Burden, Emeka. Depending on the team, you know, Jaden Higgins is just a different type of player compared to those. I would argue to the Burdens, to the
I agree.
Emekas. As far as like, I hate labeling him as being no, he's an X or he's a possession, but he's just like you said 6'4". I mean, he's all of 6'4" and then some, and decent body size, and he's just so fast. Like that to me is such a different player than what you would ask a Luther Burden to be. I think Tet is probably more along those lines, but even when I watched Tet's film, I'll be honest, I thought he looked a little clunky sometimes, a little bit robotic and not as fluid as some of the other guys that I was really impressed with. And the yak wasn't as, he's got availability and possibility to being a decent guy with you after the catch. But I was much more intrigued by Jaden Higgins and my next guy is actually a person that you brought up briefly, but it was Jack Besh. That dude just looks
Mm-hmm.
like he fits the part, man. He looks like he could be a Packers receiver. He really does.
You
I had,
you were you were asking about Jaden Higgins here in terms of do I see him as a first round pick? I see him in the 40s there on our board. It doesn't mean he won't go in the first round, but when you look at the latest mock drafts here, Draft Tech, their staff on April 10th, which would have been 2 days ago, had him going number 22 to the Patriots. NBC Sports, Connor Rogers on April 9th had him going number 23 to the Packers. Football Nick Barrett on April 7th had him going number 28 to the Lions. And then CBS Chris Trapasso in two different mock drafts on March 25th and 26th, both had him, or both of those scenarios, he had him going to the Packers at 23. Pro Football Focus back in February had him going to the Packers at 23. So there's plenty of buzz that Jaden Higgins could hop into the first round. There's no doubt. And if the Packers were to take him at 23, it's for the reason you said, that they say, I want a big body receiver as opposed to a better receiver, because there's definitely guys that are ranked higher than him on the board. As you can see, if we go back to the big board here, this is mock draft database. Tet McMillan, number 10, Matthew Golden, 20, Emeka Egbuka, 33, Luther Burden, 34, and then Jaden Higgins at 49. So just wanted to hit that before you moved on to the next guy there. It's interesting, man. There's some buzz around him, about him going in the first round potentially, man.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that doesn't surprise me at all. I would not be shocked whatsoever. I would be a little shocked if he goes before us, but anything after 23, I would not be shocked in any way. But like I was saying, the next guy that I really it kind of popped off the tape to me was Jack Besh, TCU. I believe he's about 6'2"-ish, decent body size. I was just really amazed at how twitchy, and I put twitchy, great release, great deep ball skills, good yak, good ball skills while the ball is in the air was one of the things I noticed about him. He's really good at locating it. But he's, I don't want to say he's skinny or whatever, but he's just lean, but he's really he looks strong for how quote unquote lean he may look. And he just kind of has that weird attitude about him where he just seems like he could be a Packer, man. I watched his route tree, very developed as well, crisp, clean routes. And I was surprised at how much of a deep threat he was. Like, he just seems effortless for him as well, where he looks over the shoulder. He seems like he can place the ball. He knows where it's going to land and how to distance himself from the cornerbacks. And then once he gets that ball in his hand, dude, he's like a little lightning bug kind of. Very impressed with him. I don't know where we got him on our board, Clay, but I would be pretty pumped if we got him even in the second. I mean, I think he's worth that.
Yeah, so according to our board, and again, it doesn't mean it's correct, Jack Besh, the second round at 54 would be a little rich. We've got him in the 77 spot, so not crazy out of reach. The reason he ended up there, he was the 35th highest graded receiver in 24. He was 56 on the PFF big board. The consensus big board at the end of the college football season had him at 136, which is crazy. Senior Bowl, we gave him the 8-point bonus because not only did he stand out, he ended up being the MVP, caught the game-winning catch, everything across the board. He checked the boxes there. Kyle Krabs had him at 82. Dane Brugler had him at 74 initially. His RAS, last we checked, was 9+, and Greg Cosell loved him as well. So, I mean, he's one of those dudes that if you're going to reach on a receiver in the second round, I would be totally fine with Jack Besh. If, let's say, Jaden Higgins is gone, let's say Trey Harris is gone, I will be totally on board with that for sure.
That's kind of what I was going to say is right now, I would want Jaden first, Trey second, and honestly, I would say Jack Besh third. He is that good to me, and this is assuming that Emeka's not there and Bird, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I did see, was it Coach? Yeah, Coach was saying that he likes Manure, if that's how you say it, rising up the draft boards. I saw a lot of the same stuff I liked about Besh as well with Elick. I don't know if that dude's name is just, I heard it 1,000 different ways, but
I know it.
The Stanford, you're kind of, you look at the school size and the level of competition, and that makes you a little bit more suspect. But I mean, I've seen some crazy catches from him. He has like those one-arm stabs that he's really good at, just going up and grabbing that ball. I saw the same thing with Jack Besh too, where I was like, dang, that's pretty polished guy. I wouldn't mind that pick either. It's just that in that grouping of the Elick, Jalen, and Jack Besh, I really like Besh. I just have really he's grown on me quite a bit.
With Ayamaner, I've heard it called Ayamaner.
Yeah.
I've heard it called Ayamaner. I've heard it called Ayamanur. I've also heard his first name called Elick, and Alik. I'm
Yeah,
like, can somebody please let's get to the bottom of this? But yeah, he's in the number 80 spot on our big board. He had an injury in 22, but stayed relatively healthy after that. In 23, he was 140th at his position. He dropped a little bit in 24 at 160. The PFF big board had him at 31. Consensus big board had him at 48. Kyle Krabs in the 33rd team had him at 43. Dane Brugler had him at 90. He did get a 9+ RAS. I do know, just following Notre Dame and hearing about the transfer portal and this and that, a couple of the podcasts that I listen to, shout out to Irish Breakdown. If you guys are Notre Dame fans, they do a phenomenal job over there here on YouTube and in podcast form. But one of the things that they talked about was like, man, it was such a shame that Manor did not have an opportunity to go into the portal. Like, he didn't enter into the portal from Stanford, because boy, oh boy, if he'd went to a big time program, he said that dude would have just blew it off the charts. So, on our board, I'm a little lower on him in the 80 spot, obviously. But according to the consensus big board here, the mock draft database big board, they have him in the 63 spot above Jalen Noel and Jack Besh and Isaiah Bond and Jalen Royals. I mean, he's starting to creep up on Trey Harris now. So I think he is a guy that, and nothing other than just the memory of Puka Nacua and how he was underrated, but there were signs like people were going, man, this dude's good, and he just pops. He kind of feels like that could be the dude in this year's draft. And I may end up saying that a half a dozen times by the time the draft gets here with different people, but Manor is one of those dudes for sure. So,
no, I think that's totally fair. And real quick, just because I didn't want to gloss over it, but Trey Harris, I really like him. He still would be my second. When I watched him, I just saw more of I hate saying a slow and lumbering type, but when you compare it to when you're watching Jaden and Jack Besh and those types, he was just more of kind of a possession type receiver. Very good at what he does, but not as quick and twitchy, just more of like, I'd say possessive and kind of a more solid, kind of body type. But you let me know if you've ever heard, I know I sent you the YouTube breakdown, but I have now absolutely fallen in love with Torrey Horton. When I watched this dude's film, I was amazed at how twitchy, but just all around. I mean, the guy runs every route. I feel like he can do it crisply. He's really great at like intermediate routes, but also like gadgety stuff. They used him a lot with like sweeps and end around jet motion type stuff. They did a lot of wide receiver screens to him, a lot of out of the backfield stuff. When I watched him, I just thought I was watching Jaden Reed in Matt LaFleur's offense, just doing a lot of really gizmo-y, gadgety type stuff. But the thing is, too, is like this guy, he was flying down the field, too. And I think he's a solid 6'2", not the biggest body type guy, but he was, I mean, dude, in and out of his routes. And I mean, the competition is, Colorado State or whatever, but you go and watch his film. Oh, and by the way, the dude must have been an old quarterback, because they got one highlight reel where they pitch it out to him, and he absolutely steps into what had to be a 50-yard ball in the air, puts it right on the dime for a touchdown. Not that we're going to have Torrey out there throwing passes, but it's nice to know we got it in the repertoire. Yeah. But I swear, I think that Torrey Horton may be my favorite player in this draft. That's a bold statement to say, but I really do think that if we could snag him in the third, that's my draft crush. He's my Jaden Higgins for as far as Tim goes.
I'll say this, man. What we are uncovering is there's several receivers between the first and the fourth round. It's like, be okay with any of these guys, So, Torrey Horton is currently in the 105 spot on the consensus big board. We have him in the 108 spot. Crushed it according to PFF, 76, 18th, and 38th at his respective position there. PFF big board 117. The consensus big board had him at 100, so he's kind of hovering right where he's always been. The 33rd team, Kyle Krabs, had him at 123 initially, and his RAS is a 9+. And I'll say this, talking about him being 6'2", I think he's the same size as Trey Harris in terms of height. So I want to say Trey Harris was 6'2" as well. So similar size there for sure. And if you miss on those guys that we already talked about, that might be the dude to fall back on for sure. Watch him go up there in the first round or something, just completely skyrocket. Nobody know about it. That would be absolutely awesome. King Tron with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says 12 days away from the big show. Can't wait. Go Pack, go. Hey, thank you for the super chat, Tron. Same here, man. It's going to be a blast. Jacob's going to be on the live stream with us, doing the draft show. I cannot wait. You guys make sure you're subbed to the channel and get ready. We're gonna be going live night 1 on Thursday night for the entirety of the first round. Night 2 for the second and third round, and then day 3 we'll probably end up spending more time at the draft. However, as soon as it's over, we're going to get back to the crib and do a live kind of recap. We may catch the backside of it. I did find out today, though, or yesterday, Jacob, they're going to have a Locust farmers market over at the draft on the last day. So I think your boy going to be shipping some cheese back to Tennessee, man. I'm telling you, you guys know how to do it up there for sure. So, Tron, thank you for the super chat, bub.
Yeah.
What else you got, Jake?
There's a couple things that Wisconsin does well. It's drinking and cheese. That's pretty much it. Oh, we hunt a lot too. And
I
fish.
think since you brung that up, we need to make sure that everybody knows this is on the market now. If you guys are interested in purchasing a cool new action figure here, all right. So we got the Redneck Packer fan action figure available now, right? Mandy looked at the face and said, "Clayton, that's not you." I said, "Hey, that's right." But she said that is exactly what you wear 24/7. Though it's usually a white hoodie, black shorts, and the Air Force Ones. But you see the accessories. It actually comes with a shotgun, a bottle of Tennessee whiskey, a football, and of course the raccoon there, right? So make sure you check your local department stores for this action figure.
That is really good.
The face does not look like me at all, but man, the accessories they crush, and I really wish I had those calves, but unfortunately, I got the lady legs. Sorry, that's just the way it is. So
yeah,
all right.
Hashtag lady legs. Another one was Kyle Williams, which I know we saw on that list there. Another guy that kind of seems to be getting a lot of kind of steam. You know what I mean? A lot of people have been seeing him kind of rising up boards. Washington State, obviously not the biggest of schools, but again, a guy that just seems like he knows what he's doing, that he's not intimidated by big situations, big games. Really, really like the way that he runs routes. I don't know if he's quite as polished or twitchy as the other guys, but I just really do like what he puts on tape. Also, King Tron, by the way, I do have a comment of yours highlighted that we'll get to, just so you don't think we're ignoring you. We'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah,
King Tron, super chat right now.
Somebody else will get it for sure, man. They'll get they'll have the name, image, and likeness of the. Did you notice the title on it? Redneck Packer fan. That's all it is. Just it's the entire kit. So so you said Kyle Williams, right? You guys see the chat always gets us off topic here. Kyle Williams, I'm way lower on. And when I say I'm talking about the board. And again, Tron, thank you for that super chat, pal. So Kyle Williams on our board is in the 193 spot. Now you see him here on the latest mock draft database consensus big board. He's 95th. So you go, okay, why is there a big discrepancy there? The big thing is the PFF grades, all right? In 22, he was 253rd at his position. In 23, he dropped all the way back to 389th. And then in 24, he jumps up to 64th, so he rebounded real nice. But at the end of the college football season, this same website had him ranked 147th. So you can see how he's climbed up the boards now all of a sudden, right? And again, that could be that they're hearing from teams, hey, we really like this guy, but we also know it's lying season. We also know that this consensus big board is put together by media members. Listen, everybody's human. Everybody creates their friendships, and they got their relationships with certain schools and this and that. You prop our guys up, we'll give you better access. That stuff really happens, right? So when I see someone jump significantly like that, it could be real deal. It could. But I'm not going to have it reflect on my board. These are how people seen these players as soon as the college football season wrapped up, and then we add in the bonuses, which he stood out at the Senior Bowl. There's no doubt about that. So the fact that Kyle Williams really popped at the Senior Bowl is a huge bonus in his regard. And then the RAS scored less than a 7. I think that's going to hurt him a little bit. I really do, in terms of draft stock. So I'm going to be happy. I don't want him to fail. I don't want to see him go low just to see him go low, but if he's closer to 193 than he is 100, I'm going to feel really vindicated on our board. But if he goes higher than that, I'm not going to be surprised at all. So That's
Yeah.
Kyle Williams.
Okay. And then I'll end it with these two. I ended up looking at Arkansas because I wanted to see Isaac Tesla, and I really like him a lot. Big body. I mean, he's a big guy. I think he's 6'3", 6'4", solid. I think he's 200 pounds plus, and he runs really, really well. Was actually really impressed with his deep ball skills, the way that he located the ball. He honestly did remind me a lot watching like of a Jordy Nelson type, and not just because he's a white. All right, it's because he just had that kind of like long, kind of seemingly just deceptive speed, and really, really crisp on his routes, and a lot of deep balls where it just, again, he seems like effortless. He'll just pluck them out. Seems like he was really good at running intermediate routes as well. But as I'm sitting there watching this Isaac Tesla, I think somebody in the chat brought it up, which really makes me sad because I thought I was going to totally bring out a hidden gem here. I think it was Prince. Here you go, right here, Prince. He says, my new favorite mid-round guy, in case you miss out on wide receiver earlier, is Isaac Tesla's our Kansas teammate, Andrew Armstrong. Not a big burner, solid guy like James Jones to throw in the mix. Andrew Armstrong is somebody, when I'm watching the tape, I was like, dang, who is that guy? I ended up looking him up. He has really good size, really good speed, decent numbers. So I popped on some film of him. Really surprised at how much they use him in short comeback routes, a lot of intermediate routes, like a lot of dinking and dunking type stuff, where I saw what Prince said there about how he's kind of like a James Jones. I mean, I could really see that, where it was just, he was a very technical receiver, but he does have a lot of the attributes that he could possibly surprise a lot of people and become an all-around really stud wide receiver. And then I started watching more and more tape, and he does have some deep ball skills. He's got some intermediate skills. He's got good comeback routes. He seems like he's got the route tree. And I have not heard really anybody talk about this guy other than a few and far between. Do you have him even on your board, Clayton, or no?
Yeah, we've got Isaac Tesla. Is it Tesla or Tesla? Have you heard it say Tesla?
I think it's right? Tesla, but we'll just say Tesla to piss people off.
All right. I was going to say it might have been Tesla, and old Elon pissed him off and he changed his name. That could have happened too. That's welcome to 2025. So he's in the 179 spot on the consensus big board, right? On our board, we've got him at 378. Oof. Now, let me explain why. In 2023, according to PFF, there were 705 receivers that were better than him. Now you go, okay, how do you do in 24? In 2024, in all college football, there were 304 receivers better than him. So I'm not like, I can't, when you see a number that low, it's like, boy. Now, I'm not saying he can't do good things, don't get me wrong, but the PFF big board at the end of the year had him at 231. And you see right here on the consensus big board, right? They got him in the 195 spot. Take a guess where they had him at the end of the college football season. Just guess.
300.
Higher. I mean, lower. Like, yeah. 4. You said 4?
Yeah.
728.
Jesus. Yeah.
So that's what's pulling him way down. If we were to remove that altogether, he's going to jump significantly on our board. So this is another one of those players where I'm going to highlight the box. So we have questions like, hey, should we change this? Okay. And I want to get everybody's take. I honestly want to stick to the board, but at the same time, when you see something like that, it really does kind of pique your interest. Like, okay, what is going on here? Why is this guy? Why did he all of a sudden jump that high, and how could they have been that off on him?
Because here's what I think, and this is a Draft Buzz, whatever you want to call him. He did end up making Bruce Feldman's 2023 freak list at number 83. So he's 6'4", 216. He ran a legit 4.43. He has a shuttle in the 88th percentile. He has hands in the 77th percentile. He has a weight in the 80th percentile. He has a 10-yard split in the 85th percentile. His broad jump is the 92nd percentile, and his vert is the 91st percentile. He has all the attributes that you would ever want. Oh, and he has a 4.0 perfect grade all through college. And he has the Kentucky waterfall that's quite curly and luxurious. I'm just saying.
Now we gotta boost him.
Now we gotta throw that -5.
No, but so it sounds like, and listen, Jay, I'm not trying to be an ass here, but it sounds like the underwear Olympics helped him out a lot. Am I wrong in that assessment?
I think that's right. And I think that a lot of people have looked at just what he could be. One of the things that says here is he has a drastically higher ceiling than what his draft position is telling people. I think that's one of those guys. He's a traits guy. He has the attributes. He has the possibility of becoming something that only a few people have the even possibility of getting to, I think is what they're trying to, word it that way. So that's where I just see him as if you can get him in the 6th or 7th or, take some sort of late round flyer on him, I would be totally cool with it. Did you by chance have Andrew Armstrong on your list as well?
Let's see. Oh, let me just mention this with Tesla one more time. The 33rd team had him at 115, so Kyle Krabs likes him. However, Dane Brugler did not have him in his top 100. So it's like he may be hovering around the 100 spot for both him and DJ, and we just haven't seen it yet. DJ's only put out a top 50, which pisses me off. Like, come on, guys, stop being cowards. Get your full list out there. You know what I mean? Like, let's draft's almost here. So who'd you say, Jacob?
It was the other guy from Arkansas. It was Andrew Armstrong.
Andrew Armstrong.
That was my kind of sleeper that I have not heard anybody other than Prince bringing him up.
We're significantly higher on him than Tesla for sure. We've got him in the 146 spot. He meets the athletic threshold for the Packers. 2022, he was 33rd according to PFF. In 2023, he drops to 129, but in 2040, he jumps all the way to 9th. So PFF checks out big time. Consensus Big Board had him at 190. The mock draft database had him at 236, and he did score an 8+ RAS last we checked. So we've got him in the 146 spot. Pretty solid. Now, if we look at the Consensus Big Board here, again, Andrew Armstrong, right? So they've got him in the 281 spot, which if you'll notice, this is one of those situations where they had him in the 236 spot at the end of the college football season. So he has since dropped to 281. So he was probably passed up by a couple underwear Olympic guys.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, his grades are phenomenal. Last year, he had almost 80 catches. He had 1,200 yards receiving. I think one of the big things is he only had one touchdown, whereas in years prior, he had 5 and then 13. He averaged almost 15 yards per catch. He has a contested catch rate of 62.1, a drop rate of only 4.9, 83.3 grade against man coverage, a receiving grade of 89.4, 2.81 yards per route run. I mean, I've not heard anybody else talk about him whatsoever. And it's just kind of intriguing because he just seems like he's got all the attributes there. He runs a 4.5 240. So I don't know if that's maybe holding him down a little bit, but
not horrible though, right?
Yeah.
Not horrible at all. King Chom with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, Clay, any more thought into a call-in segment capped at like 30 seconds, a call with the regulars you trust, maybe once a week for 10 minutes with the pinky wheel of names of people that want to chat? Man, this is something that's bothered me a lot, Tron. I've wanted to do this ever since we started the show. We actually used to have a little bit of one, and started getting nervous because I was watching a YouTube show where someone had called in on their show and completely ruined their channel. And what I mean was all it takes is 5 seconds of someone saying something on a live show and you're canceled. And I reached out to YouTube and chatted with one of their representatives over the chat service. And they said, it's 100% on you. If you have a call-in segment on your show and something is said inappropriate on a live stream and it gets flagged by YouTube, you can lose your channel. So it sucks. It absolutely sucks that we can't go that route. I even thought about because we've got several people, and I want to give a shout out to H.E. Solder. Solder actually became a $10 member on Patreon. As you guys know, on our Patreon group, $3 gets you access to everything. If you want to be generous and do the $5 or the $10 tier, awesome, cool. But he paid up a full year in advance for the $10. So Solder, thank you so much for that generous donation there. And obviously he's got access to the site. I thought about something like that, like people who are on the $5 or the $10 tier, maybe give them access to the link and be able to call into the show. The only other way to do it would be to have a voicemail service where people could call and leave a voicemail, and we do it that way. That's not really a call-in show. And also Packernet After Dark, which we're a part of the Packernet podcast family, they've already got that going on. So what I would suggest, Tron, is call in to Packernet After Dark and leave voicemail that way. It's just I want to do it for people like you. I do, and other people that I think we can trust. But I'm telling you, man, there's been a couple people on X this year too that completely crossed me that I was like, I'd never seen that coming. Where it's just I could see people like that in the heat of the moment doing something just to get their name out there and to be an ass. And we just passed 155,000 views in the last 28 days. So the channel is humming. And if we go that route and something happens, man, it
What
was
is there any possibility? I don't know quite how Patreon works. Is there the ability to leave a voice message or to upload a question that way, and then we could pull it from the Patreon, and then
we've already got that in the Patreon group questions for the show. So you can
also, I
ask.
mean, I'm just saying, like, is there a way that they could actually get their voice, literally hear their voice as a question, and just play it and then announce it on the show?
I could do that even outside of Patreon. Again, though, that takes away from Packernet After Dark.
Yeah.
So I definitely want all those calls going to Packernet After Dark because I really like that show, and we need more football calls on there. That's not Ryan's opinion. That's my opinion, and that's his baby. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting there pretending like I run it. But sometimes I listen. I'm like, man, I want to hear people's football takes. I want to hear their questions. I want to hear football conversation. I don't want to hear about what color underwear you wore this week. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm different like that. But that's what I would say is reach out to Packernet After Dark. He's got a call in number and leave a voicemail. But yeah, Jacob, I've thought about it about 5 different ways here, and it's just King Sean with Super Chat. I like that $10 tier idea. I love Ryan, but I truly hang with you boys way more. I love y'all's insight. I would say put it behind a paywall, maybe $15. And again, I appreciate the idea there, Tron, and thank you for the generous super chats here, man. I just never wanted to turn into a money grab, right? But at the same time, we gotta make sure we're not getting canceled. That's the big thing, and it's already happened once with YouTube, and when it happens with YouTube, they don't go, "Here's what went wrong, let's fix it." They just lay in the background, go, you need to read the policy and figure it out. That's what they do to you. So that's why we've got Rumble and X as a backup. So, yeah. Anyway, but thank you, Tron. We'll definitely consider it, man. We'll definitely consider it, and I think it would be cool to have like an hour-long call in. I think it'd be awesome.
Joseph says, "Don't do it live." Have you seen this chat at times?
That's what I'm saying. It's off the rails sometimes. And listen, I love it. I look at the chat and we're giggling the whole time. But can't have that. I can't control what y'all do in the chat. I can control what goes up live and whether the channel stays active. So anyway, any other receivers you want to hit on, Jacob? Thank you, Tron. Please don't think I'm minimizing what you're requesting here, man. I would love to do it. I just got to get some more thought into it. And I've got people coaching me on building the channel too. So run it by them. And every time I mention first time I mentioned it to them, they went, Clayton, no. Please don't do this. Don't go this route. All right. Okay. So anyway, any other receivers, Jake?
No, just I did look at Elijah Badger again, and once again, I don't understand how he is consistently at the back of the draft. The guy just absolutely looks like he's the real deal. I really do think that. So, and Coach Len actually I brought this up to the guys a few weeks ago about Brew McCoy. Same type of, he has the measurables. He's got the speed. Just had a little bit, I think, of some injury trouble, and I think he transferred maybe once or twice, so he didn't quite get the stats that maybe would have highlighted him, but that's another one, Coach. Where do you have him? He's wondering on your board.
I don't have an RAS score. I've got RAS loading right now, so we're going to try to get that filled in. Right now, we've got Brew McCoy in the 428 spot, and the 2024 box was checked because of the injury, right? PFF was not kind to him. 429 in 22, no score in 23. 2024, he was 424th. PFF Big Board had him at 223. The consensus Big Board had him at 312 at the time. Where's he at on the consensus Big Board? Have we seen him yet, Brew McCoy?
Man, it's crazy. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of California. Initially signed with USC, transferred to Texas, returned to USC, and then went back to Tennessee. So he's been basically having a kind of a he never really got a chance to plant his foot in a program and really get established, I think. Yeah.
He's currently 259th. And look, Packers Wire actually mocked him to the Packers in the 7th round back in March. So looks like he's going to be a 6th to 7th round pick if he's selected. There was somebody else you just mentioned that we were looking at. Who was it right before him?
Is it Badger?
Elijah Badger. I want to see does anybody have him mocking anywhere, man? Where you at, Elijah Badger? So look at how his stock is. That's what I'm talking about.
It's weird.
At the end of the college football season, he was ranked 150th, and he's just sank out of sight. He had 0 drops, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
0 drops. And he was really good against man coverage. If you guys go to our Patreon group and you look in the collections tab, you'll see there's a segment for wide receiver prospects, and we did a breakdown of man coverage, the guys that were high on our board, man coverage, and their hands, basically their drop percentage. And he was one that was, man, give me him late in the draft. But, yeah, they've still got him going 6th or 7th, man. Hey, you take him in the 5th round, you're going to see me jump up off of that table. I might go Buffalo Bills fan and go through the table at the draft stream because I would love to see Elijah Badger in a Packers uniform, man. That would be awesome. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Brew McCoy now just real quick, not on screen, but just give you guys an idea of his RAS, a .69.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Brew McCoy. It said Mitch McCoy. Hold up a minute, wrong one. Now it's got to load again. I clicked on Brew, but it had reset and went to Mitch. Give me just a second here. Because you guys said he was an athletic freak. I seen that and was like .67. What are we talking about? So that was Mitch McCoy. That must be his cousin. Let's see. And Brew McCoy, when it comes to how he has risen or sank on the board here, according to Consensus Big Board, he's kind of around where he's always been, right? So as you can see, he bottomed out January 18th at 287, and it looks like he had peaked around 212, according to the mock draft database. Now let me go back to real quick here. Brew McCoy. Yeah, he has an incomplete RAS, so that's why we didn't have anything there. So according to the RAS website, 6'2", 209. He did not run the 40. He did not do any agility drills. He did not have an explosion test, or he just doesn't have that in the system yet. That could be the case. But his hand size, 10 inches, and his arm length, 32 inches. Pretty good measurables there. So, yeah, I don't know, man. That's kind of how we see Brew McCoy right now. Again, probably a 7th round pick. So,
Okay.
Anybody else, Jacob?
No, I mean, I watched a bunch more, but this kind of took longer than I thought it would. We've been talking for 40 minutes about wide receivers.
Hey, people love wide receiver talk, man. And listen, it's a big topic for Green Bay because Christian Watson could come back in November and prove he's healthy, then he's stronger than it's ever been. We're good to go, and him get like a 1-year extension to kind of prove it deal, or go ahead and give him a contract like they did Rashawn coming off the ACL. That could happen. But also, he could hit a snag in that rehab process. I pray to sweet baby Jesus it doesn't happen, but he could hit something like that in the rehab process, like David Bakhtiari, and it really wreck his career. So you got to talk receiver, man. I hope Christian Watson's on the Packers for a long time. I think he's an absolute stud, but the reality is he is battling an injury, and since we're kind of